crazy how they doing my boy, man, honestly. But he balled out. So I low-key love that he got this chance to play in this preseason game because it showed, like, y'all can doubt him and y'all can say all that stuff y'all saying about him. But what God got for the boy, can't stop it. That way he put that...
The live stream Wednesday morning, and I talked a lot about, like, this is nice for the Browns. They can feel optimistic about Shedeur Sanders. He's going to play again this weekend. That's the best case scenario for him. It's like 30 minutes after that show ends, Shedeur injures oblique at practice. I'm like, oh, God dang it. They had basically, the Browns are kind of in a similar situation where, like, the Vikings watched J.J. McCarthy in the preseason last year, and Vikings fans were like, okay, we got a dude maybe.
Yeah.
And Shedeur, I don't even think he played as well as JJ did last year, but they're like, okay, maybe maybe he is better than a 5th round quarterback in the...
Shedeur Sanders' injury wasn't just a setback. It was the spark that blew open every crack inside the Browns organization. Suddenly, the spotlight isn't on the field anymore. It's locked right on Kevin Stefanski, who's hanging onto his job like it's a slippery football in a rainstorm. Reports say the owner is fed up and ready to press the eject button. And just like that, Cleveland went from playoff dreams to full-blown drama. At this point, it barely feels like football. It feels like a franchise falling apart in real time, faster than a busted play exploding in the backfield. And before we move on, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe, because this chapter in Cleveland might be one of the wildest stories the NFL has cooked up all season.
That he's never going to play again after one preseason game and an oblique strain.
As far as just reps go, this might be the last. We might have watched the only time we're going to see Shedeur Sanders on an NFL field this entire season. Think about it. Like, there's no guarantee he plays in a regular season.
Frank Schwab, then you want some attention, so I'm going to give you some. You really think after those types of numbers, that's going to be his last game on an NFL field? Since 2015, the NFL Network has been able to do that.
The Browns have officially turned into the league's version of a soap opera. Every week, there's a brand new storyline starring the front office, the coaching staff, and whatever quarterback gets tossed into the storm like he's being fed to hungry lions out in the open field. And now this latest chapter is so over the top it almost feels like someone wrote it for TV. Reports say the Browns owner is threatening to fire Kevin Stefanski over the whole Shedeur Sanders injury mess. That's right, because nothing says steady leadership like firing your coach the moment things get messy. As if letting go of Stefansky is magically going to heal Shedeur's ankle or erase all the decisions that led them to this mess in the first place. For a franchise that has practically invented new ways to collapse, this storyline feels like peak Cleveland. They finally land a generational talent in Shedeur Sanders.
That's all been derailed because of this, which is super unfortunate for him and kind of unfortunate for shows like ours. And now he's not going to play this week. Probably won't play the final preseason week. And now, you know, his chance of starting, as slim as it was, is probably now 0.
Marketable, electric, exciting. The exact type of quarterback this city hasn't seen since Bernie Kosar had fans rocking the stadium. He was supposed to be the spark, the future, the face of something new. But the Browns turned him into another cautionary tale by mishandling everything around him with an almost unbelievable level of mismanagement. They overworked him, didn't protect him, and treated his health like it was optional in their desperate chase for wins.
Fans, you really just can't make this stuff up. The Browns are just a disaster. Cleveland Browns fans, what is going on with all of this bad luck and multiple QB injuries?
And now the owner wants to point the finger at Stefansky, because it's easier to blame the coach than admit the organization operates with the vision of a driver trying to navigate fog without headlights. Here's the reality. Stefansky's job is already the NFL equivalent of trying to teach complicated math to a room full of people who just discovered glue sticks. He's dealing with an injury-filled roster, a defense that goes from elite to exhausted in the blink of an eye, and an offensive line that treats blocking like a suggestion instead of a requirement. Then you throw in a rookie quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, still learning the league, still adjusting to NFL speed.
Spend some time talking to Jalen Hurts, and I feel like in this stage right now where Shedeur is, Jalen Hurts was the perfect person for him to spend some time talking to. Jalen Hurts didn't give specifics, but I really feel like there's a commonality there. I love the fact that they're both two black QBs.
And instead of easing him into a system, they tossed him out there like they were trying to grill his entire rookie season on live television. The result? A promising young quarterback limping off the field while the owner sits in a luxury suite demanding answers like some kind of old-school ruler deciding who gets tossed out of the arena.
Shedeur Sanders is out. He's out with an oblique injury. He will not play. He will not practice. He will not play in the joint session to practice with the Philadelphia Eagles. And he will likely not play, I believe it's Saturday against the Eagles in the preseason game. This is real interesting because the Browns have 4 quarterbacks in the room. Shedeur was number 4. He played well Friday, and it made things real interesting, and he got hurt. So now you have 4 quarterbacks, and 3 of them are hurt. The one that is healthy is 40 years old, 40-year-old Joe Flacco. That's not good. That's the Cleveland Browns being the Cleveland Browns.
And of course, the scapegoat becomes Stefanski. It's never the owner's decisions, never the front office's roster construction, never the organizational culture that seems to chew up quarterbacks and spit them out. No. In their eyes, it must be Stefanski's play calling that wrecked Shedeur Sanders' rookie year. But here's the real comedy in all of this. The Browns are acting shocked that Shedeur got hurt, like nobody else saw this coming from 10 miles away. Anyone watching saw the offensive line struggling like crazy, pass rushers flying in untouched, and a head coach calling plays just to stay alive out there. Shedeur spent so much time escaping pressure it looked like he was doing conditioning drills instead of running an offense. His highlight tape at one point looked like a workout video with footballs involved. And when the injury finally happened, the owner's response is to put Stefanski on the chopping block, like that's going to magically protect quarterbacks moving forward. Another fresh face walks into the building promising culture change, discipline, and some shiny new vision for accountability. Like Cleveland hasn't heard the same speech 100 times already. Another slideshow, another pitch, another coach trying to convince the city that this time things will be different. And meanwhile, another rookie quarterback gets tossed around like a crash test dummy while fans sit at home hoping for a miracle to fall out of the sky. At some point, you'd think the Browns would stop hunting for another magic coach and finally look in the mirror.
You really think that's going to be his last time on an NFL field? Some of you journalists really shock me. It's making it look like anybody can be a journalist at this point. I don't know if y'all want headlines. I don't know if everybody's trying to attach their name to the Shedeur story. So I'm just going to try to say the most outlandish thing I can think of, which is he's never going to play again. As a matter of fact, we would love it if you let him go. Let him go to somewhere else where they actually want him to play. Because there's a bunch of teams right now that actually would love to have him at this point. Especially now that we've seen how marketable, how talented, and how much attention, positive attention, he brings to a city and a franchise.
Because this team doesn't need a new playbook. They need a full-on cleansing of the whole operation. And the way they've handled Shedeur Sanders' injury makes the truth painfully obvious. Accountability barely exists inside this franchise. Instead of admitting they rushed a young quarterback into impossible situations, they're pointing fingers, sending out threats, and acting like none of this mess started with their own decisions. Shedeur's health isn't just about losing a starter. It's about the long-term future of the one player who was supposed to steady this franchise and bring real stability. And now we've got this so-called threat to fire Stefanski being treated like it's some dramatic power move the league should fear. The Browns owner must truly believe he's shaking the building with this ultimatum. But to most fans, it feels like the same old rerun. We've lived this story a dozen times. The owner stomps around, the coach becomes the scapegoat, and the cycle resets until the next quarterback prospect gets fed into the grinder.
He wasn't getting a lot of reps in practice, right? He was, what, 4th on the depth chart?
Right.
All of a sudden, he's forced into a start.
Cleveland has become the NFL's version of a never-ending loop, like a football Groundhog Day with worse weather. And somehow, every single time, they manage to blame the wrong person with stunning consistency. What makes this entire situation even more tragic, and honestly unbelievable, is that Shedeur Sanders deserved so much better. He stepped into the league with expectations that would overwhelm most rookies, carrying a name with huge hype and the talent to match it. Fans believed he could finally shift decades of frustration into something new and exciting. And the wild thing is, for a moment, it really looked possible.
Cleveland account, like Cleveland HQ headquarters, Cleveland Browns HQ, just somebody's account, posted footage of Shedeur working out today that we're going to take a look at. And let me tell you what they were saying. They were essentially saying, with the footage, they captioned it, this is why he was the most accurate QB in college. See, now you have an ESPN person saying it. What we already talked about. They holding back Shedeur intentionally. Shedeur not getting first team reps is by design. That's media. Then you have a Cleveland account, Cleveland fan, pushing it out to the other Cleveland fans that follow them. that's saying, look, guys, this is why he was the
Shedeur showed flashes, calm in the pocket, sharp decisions, a clean release, the kind of arm talent that has scouts staring. But now, instead of protecting their future, the owner's temper tantrum over Stefansky proves nothing in the building has changed at all. Instead of rallying around the quarterback they invested in, they're prepping the coaching guillotine again, hoping that firing one man will distract fans from the real problems staring them in the face. It's like trying to fix a sinking ship by throwing a blanket over the hole and saying it'll be fine. But Cleveland fans aren't falling for that trick anymore. They've watched too many seasons crash for the exact same reasons. And they know firing Stefansky won't magically heal Shedeur Sanders. They know swapping out one coach won't fix an offensive line that struggles to protect anyone, no matter who's wearing the headset. The Browns owner keeps waving around this firing threat like it's some shock move, but the real question isn't whether Stefansky survives this storm.
Then everybody knows that Shedeur's the guy, and you can actually start to build around him as you move forward if the Browns are smart. Now, this is a massive...
It's whether Shedeur Sanders survives long enough in this chaotic environment to ever reach his full potential. Because, let's be honest, if the Browns don't get their act together and change this entire approach, Shedeur could end up another name on the long list of quarterbacks this franchise mishandled. And if that happens, it won't be Stefansky's playbook that held him back. It'll be a culture that treats quarterbacks like light bulbs. Burn one out, screw in another, and hope this one lasts a little longer. It's lazy, short-sighted, and exactly why Cleveland keeps ending up as the punchline instead of the powerhouse they could be.
In practice today, Shedeur Sanders suffered an oblique injury and was held out the rest of the way. A lot of people were skeptical and wondering what was going on because we saw, as we're following in practice tweets, that Dylan Gabriel's getting reps, Joe Flacco's getting reps, and then Tyler Huntley started getting reps and nothing for Shedeur Sanders. So people, jumping to the narrative of the Browns are against him, strategizing against him, this, that, and the other. No, he's just injured. Hopefully it's nothing serious because you don't want it to be anything serious because you want to see him and Dylan Gabriel both playing on Saturday against the Eagles, see what we have there between the two of them. I guess we'll find.
This whole Shedeur Sanders injury situation should be a wake-up call. But the Browns have hit snooze more times than anyone can count. When your brand becomes desperation, the only guarantee is more chaos, more finger-pointing, and more wasted talent. The mess around Shedeur Sanders didn't just expose Stefansky's struggles. It exposed the Browns' entire organizational DNA, that built-in flaw that keeps pushing them into new embarrassing moments every season. You'd think after all these years of losing, someone inside that building would figure out the pattern, but somehow they keep doubling down on the same mistakes like it's part of the franchise handbook. And here they are again, mishandling the one player who could have finally lifted them out of the late-night football roast category. Nothing screams incompetence louder than letting your prized quarterback prospect limp off the field because nobody in power planned ahead to protect him.
Dylan Gabriel 6-19. How in the world is he still in third place? I know he was hurt. I'll give grace for that. But the completions, if you've been following this, Shedeur has had the better completion rate, period, across the whole thing. So for me, I'm like, what is the goal here with the Browns and with Shedeur, right? You see the fans are excited. You see what he's capable of with the lack of reps. Like, I'm so hoping that Shedeur can still play on Saturday, that he'll be healthy enough to play and give his best. Because I really want this to be settled once and for all. Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, both playing on Saturday, made the best QB stand up, and should I say, get the job or at least move up on the depth chart.
That moment alone looked like a live commercial announcing just how unorganized things really are. Fans weren't just upset, they were embarrassed. Shedeur Sanders arrived in Cleveland with more hype than this franchise has seen since the reboot. He has the swagger, the skill, and the natural magnetism that sells jerseys before he even hits the field. And what do the Browns do? They treat him like he's just another arm in a random preseason rep. That's not lack of awareness. That's flat-out organizational malpractice. A quarterback like that should be guarded like a treasure chest. You protect him, build around him, and make sure he's safe, not let him walk off limping like it's just another Tuesday. The media saw it right away. Every headline wasn't just about Shedeur Sanders being hurt. It was about how Cleveland somehow found a way to mess things up before the season even truly started. Analysts were jumping all over it, pointing out how the Browns finally found their star quarterback, only to risk him before he could officially take over QB1. And who's standing right in the center of this mess? Stefansky, a coach who now looks like he's drifting through a job that clearly requires someone fully locked in. The owner understands how bad these optics look too. In today's NFL, it's not just about winning. It's about brand power. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a quarterback. He was supposed to be the new face of the franchise, the marketable star who could drag Cleveland from cursed to competitive. When leadership fails to protect that type of player, trust around the locker room cracks fast.
It's a circus. And people were like, why do you say he's a circus? He's a good player. I didn't say he's not a good player. I didn't say he's a bad player. I said your starting quarterback has to be the guy. The cameras, the lights, the action, the locker room, everybody wants that guy in the locker room with the mouthpiece in, lining up on Sundays. And if you don't, and you got a guy like Shedeur Sanders.
Guys like Myles Garrett don't need to say it out loud. You know they're questioning whether this coaching staff is really in control. A locker room that loses faith doesn't just fall apart, it mutates into frustration and confusion. The Browns were already teetering on that line, and this whole situation shoved them even closer to the edge. Fans online weren't politely asking for Stefansky's job, they were demanding it with intensity. Some joked the next Browns head coach should come with hazard pay because this franchise has a reputation for grinding careers down. Others said it doesn't matter who they hire, Cleveland will always find a new way to break hope the only way they know how. But underneath the jokes was real frustration. How does a coach allow his young quarterback to face unnecessary risks when everyone is watching?
I don't like this. I hate that he got the oblique injury now going into this weekend with the Eagles, because I wanted to see him play against the Eagles because I felt like the first game was against the Carolina Panthers, who ain't the Eagles.
Yeah.
And if this brother had gone and shown out, it's all about the QB2 position, because you know Joe Flacco's going to start the season because he's the QB1 getting most reps.
Yeah.
But you saw that he could position himself. Nevertheless, though, it is what it is. I think he'll ultimately end up being successful for the Browns. Why are you wearing this Lions jersey?
Oh, no, I be throwing jerseys.
So you just, I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure you wasn't trying to send a message about what the Lions are going to do this year. Even though I think they got to change.
How does he manage the situation so poorly that even casual fans spotted the problem instantly? That's why the owner's threat didn't sound like a bluff. It sounded like the start of something major. Owners don't make public ultimatums unless they're serious, or unless they're preparing fans for a firing they know will play well on camera. The crazy part? Stefansky originally came to Cleveland as the stabilizer, the controlled guy, the leader who was supposed to bring structure, discipline, and a long-term plan. Fast forward, and he's now overseeing the same chaos he was hired to clean up. Shedeur Sanders' injury wasn't just bad timing. It was proof the steady hand on the wheel was steering the whole thing straight toward trouble. The Browns weren't unlucky, they were unprepared, and that always lands at the coach's feet. Now Stefansky is under maximum pressure. He doesn't just have to explain how this happened.
Coming up, and I felt it throughout individuals who took a look at it. If it's a right guard, you can play through that. When it's a quarterback, you kind of need that muscle to throw. So unfortunately, going to put him down for a little bit here. We'll treat it day to day and see how he responds. But want to be smart because he's a thrower, so you can't.
He has to convince the locker room, the fans, and the owner that he's still the right guy to lead this team. But once ownership questions your job publicly, the countdown clock starts ticking immediately. Every decision, every practice, every snap becomes part of the evaluation. One wrong move and it's over. And with Shedeur Sanders' health suddenly overshadowing everything, the Browns no longer have any margin for error. They've backed themselves into a lose-lose situation. Fire Stefansky now, and they look desperate. Keep him, and they look careless. This is the kind of situation only this franchise seems to create. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is stuck right in the middle of a circus he didn't cause. He didn't choose for the injury to be mismanaged. He didn't choose for leadership to argue publicly. He didn't choose to become the center of a power struggle between a frustrated owner and a coach on borrowed time. All he did was show up, work hard, and try to win the QB1 job. And now he's the centerpiece of a storm bigger than anything he asked for. And before we wrap this segment, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, because what's coming next for Cleveland might get even louder.